I'd now like to call Narayana Rao of Salcit. We're going back to IoT, and I think Narayan does have a time pressure, but has a very interesting product.
Good evening to all of you. I'm from Salcit Technologies. The vision what we have is be the leader in providing digital health solutions for respiratory diseases. The way we realize that vision is through IoT and ML technologies in developing innovative medical devices and digital health solutions. So based on the various discussions we had with doctors, physicians, pulmonologists, and people who are heading community medicine, screening for respiratory diseases is an unmet need. Lack of cost-effective and lab-free methods for early diagnosis of respiratory diseases is the problem. I mean, as per some of the statistics, respiratory symptoms are among the major causes of consultancy at primary health centers. And total population in India today suffering with respiratory problems are in the range of 100 million, and globally it is about 1.2 billion. Another problem is continuous monitoring. Lack of continuous monitoring tools to know the lung condition, resulting in adverse conditions being noticed very lately, which actually result in increased costs and longer hospital stays. So the solution what we have is audiometric evaluation of respiratory sounds. When I say respiratory sounds, the cough and the additional sounds like wheeze and crackle, these are the sounds which we use, and we do an audiometric analysis on that. And we provide indications like, is there a presence of problem? If yes, is it an obstruction in the airway, or is it like a restriction in the lung expansion? And we also provide the severity of inflammation, like is it in the beginning or is it already advanced? And we do provide the position, like the anatomy, is it attributed to the small airways or the large airways or a parenchyma and a pleura? This information will be useful in making a next intervention, be it actually referring to a pulmonologist or a specialist or actually further investigations. And on the continuous monitoring of the respiratory sounds, we actually do a temporal analysis on the sound characteristics, the type of sound events, their position and frequency of occurrence. So primarily this will be helpful in managing the disease condition, how well the patient is actually recovering. And it is also helpful in doing early detection for some of the exceptional cases like interstitial lung diseases, and even identifying conditions like lung collapse. So as I mentioned, we are primarily based on the technology is primarily based on the machine learning. So we have data analysis and machine learning using 4,500 plus data points. And our focus areas are at this moment are asthma, COPD, pneumonia, interstitial lung disease, and progressively other diseases. We have a granted patent from Indian Patent Office. We also filed international patent, and we do have a design for one of the jacket, which I will be showing very soon. So this is our first product, a Revel MD, a device for screening respiratory diseases. So it has an audio recorder for collecting the cough sounds, and then it has a wireless stethoscope for collecting the breath sounds. Based on these two, we will be doing the risk assessment and providing the advice. And then we have another device, this is RESA MD, which is for continuous monitoring. So it has a chest jacket like this. It supports auscultation on the 4 anterior and the 4 posterior points. So simultaneously we can monitor the chest condition, and we can provide whether there is any abnormality. This is how the reports look like. Like for example, in the case of a continuous monitoring, we can provide, how is the additional sound per minute variation, like, when the patient gets admitted versus when the patient gets discharged, how is the variation looking like. So we actually completed the clinical validation, respiratory sound analysis and its correlation with clinical tests and clinical diagnosis with Apollo Research and Innovation. And the results are very encouraging. Basically, our ability to predict risk or no risk, we are we are at 97%. and our ability to detect whether the problem is more in the obstructive or more like a restrictive, we are 90%. And we also did the sound characteristic correlation with the airway characteristic correlation, like the spirometry, and the results are, we are actually very closely able to match with the spirometry. So in terms of our roadmap, as I mentioned, we completed the clinical validation, and now we are planning to do a product testing and subsequently get into the market launch. And we are actually doing, initiated a testing at 3 remote health centers, which are part of 3 CSC e-governance. And in addition to that, we also have a very strong technology roadmap. So, going forward, we will like to get into differential diagnosis for exceptional cases like interstitial lung disease, and also in providing anatomic sound images and predicting exacerbations like for COPD and asthma. And further integrate our sound analysis with Alexa, wherein like, home environment also consumer can actually assess the condition and know where it stands. Of course, as a startup, we cannot do all things on our own, so we are supported by BIRAC, and we are also supported by other organizations like GenSarc in product engineering, and various other organizations in doing the mechanical design and the embedded design. That's it what I have.
Thank you, Narayan. First speaker to end before time. But it's a fantastic product. I wish we could have demoed the product significantly better. But thank you so much for coming by. And